man, does this show take its mid-season finale seriously? Oh my goodness. Man, these two episodes are crazy. Crazy in the terms of setting up the plot, pretty much the arc of what I'm assuming is the series of. So, okay, let's start with this one. This is episode 10A, Toad Tax. And right out of the gate, they're not messing around right out of the gate. They don't even do an intro. They just show the title screen and then they go to the freaking, the episode title, Toad Tax, and it's just like bam. And at first it seems like, yeah, it's just gonna be another episode that we're doing, because Anne at first is, everyone's looking at Anne, and they're kind of like, most people are still kind of don't know how to feel about her. They even call her Scarecrow. I mean, okay. And then she then drops she says that she's been there for over a month, so we finally get to and I guess it kind of makes sense that it's the mid-season finale and she's been there for a month. So if I had to guess what the season 1 finale will be after seeing this episode, I'm guessing it's going to be something related to them having to leave Wartwood, because a certain something is coming their way, and it's only after them. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, Anne's been in Wartwood for over a month, but she hasn't really gotten the respect of the town. And even Hop Hop's like, yeah, they're slow to accept, even slower to respect. That's actually the town motto. I love how it's on the freaking town sign, and literally that what he said, slow to accept, even slower to respect. It's kind of funny. So, yeah, and then all of a sudden that, everything seems to be going well until Toads show. These 3 barbarian warrior toads show up from Toad Tower, they said, and the second they said Toad Tower, I'm like, all right, I automatically know what they're talking about, because from what we've seen, we've only really seen 1 tower so far in this whole thing, and we kind of take a wild guess that it's the same tower that they're talking about in this episode. And we get to, so these three toads, they come in, and they're pretty much tax collectors, as they say. Like they're saying, like, we're coming down, like we're here to collect, basically. And at first, what's interesting is Sprig and Anne are interested, but Hop Hop is like, nah, stay away from them. They're just, if they're here, that means something's not right. And so Anne and Sprig ignore him, obviously. And Sprig tries to impress them, but he fails. But Anne sticks up for Sprig, and the toads like that. They toads like that assertion, the assertiveness that Anne has, and they eventually recruit her. And it's interesting that we have this dynamic, because I didn't really think too deep into the toads and the frogs, like, because the mayor is a toad, so I'm like, okay, well, maybe they're all on the same boat or something. And it's like, no, but this episode kind of got me questioning, like, wait a minute, there's something going on here? Like, I mean, because you got these toads coming into a town mainly populated by frogs. The mayor is a toad, but everyone else is frogs. So I'm like, okay, maybe suddenly an interesting detail about the world. So pretty much Anne becomes, and they recruit Anne because they said, like, you can definitely earn respect from this town if you're one of us deputies. And so Anne becomes part of the group, But she quickly realizes that it was a mistake because the way the toads come in and collect the taxes are not exactly what you would expect. So they say it's basically they raid. They raid nearly every house, I think, in town. And it's interesting because, they say they're only raiding the houses that haven't paid their taxes, and they have a list. Like they said, we were given a list of people who didn't pay their taxes, so it's our job to come in and get those people. And then, yeah, so I'm like, really? This many people didn't pay their taxes? And even Sprig at first, I mean, well, it's not. Well, Sprig follows Anne at first, but then he kind of discovers something on why everyone didn't pay their taxes, and it turns out that the mayor was hiding all the money, and so yeah, a big shock, right? So all the while, so Sprig's trying to blow the whistle while Anne is trying to play it cool with the toads as they raid every house. But luckily for Anne, but as they go to each house, Anne saves a certain a special item for each person. For this one guy, Anne was at the store and she tried to get the last beef jerky, but this one frog took it from her, and then they're at his house now, and they're taking all the stuff, and the toad gives Anne the bag of jerky, but then right before Anne leaves, she gives the jerky back to the frog, and it's like, that's a pretty nice thing. And she does that throughout, each and every place. She gave Ivy's mom the best mom coffee mug, her best mom coffee mug back. She gave I think the old lady with the pet tarantula, her the tarantula's bed back. So basically each house they go to and make sure at least one thing is saved for them. And yeah, so pretty much, and you could probably imagine what her acts of kindness towards the somber things that are happening to them. They slowly give respect to Anne. All of this climaxes though when they go to the planter house, because Anne is it's the planter, so of course Anne is kind of iffy about this. But then the second thing is, Anne said she knows 100% for certain that Hop Hop paid his taxes. And she's like, and she takes it a step further, and I love this joke. And it's like, he's like, he made me watch, and then they cut to, and I love it when it starts off it started off like this. He's like, I know Hop Hop paid his taxes, and then they throw in the joke, he made me watch. But then they take it a step further and actually show the scene of it, and it's about what you would expect. Hop Hop is there. He's smiling as he goes through his taxes while Anne's just slouched down like this, and she's just being tortured. And Hop Hop's like, see, Anne, this is a deductible, and fun fact, you're a deductible. And then Anne's just like, please end me. I know there'll be a time in my life where I'm gonna have to pay taxes, and I'm 20 years old, so it's probably not that far off. But yeah, so pretty much, yeah, and this is the moment where Anne finally stands up for the planters. She so the toads are gonna take Bessie, which dang, I actually felt that. I was like, no, not Bessie. It's so crazy. Now I love how all these episodes, even if you consider them filler, do connect. The Bessie episode, I didn't consider too much filler because we learned a lot about Bessie in that episode. But I like how in this episode you have that moment and you're like, if you didn't see the Bessie episode early on, you're like, oh, they're gonna take the snail? Oh no. And but if you knew Bessie's backstory a little bit more, it'd be like, no, it's she's been through so much. Yeah. So Anne sticks up for them, and they have a pretty, it's a quick fight, I think just the way they built it up, because they have this one shot where Anne is wielding her sword in one hand and a racket in the other. You have the shot of her back. You have the shot of her facing the toads, and it's a storm, and you just have a bolt of lightning strike in the background. It's just like it's about to go down, and for the most part, it does. I mean, like I said, it's a quick fight, but it's a fun fight. Like there's an even moment where she smacks the toad with the racket. It's just like, and yeah, it seems like but it seems like the toads are. I mean, it's interesting to look at this episode because yeah, the toads they are kind of justified at first because they are, yeah, like they said, they're only there to collect from people who didn't pay their taxes, and so it's not really their fault that they were lied to. It's, so they basically were tricked into doing this. It's just the fact of how they executed their, you know, collection of taxes is what is a step too far. And of course, Sprig comes in and diffuses the whole situation by, like he actually, he like blows the whistle on the mayor, and basically, and so he reveals where the taxes have been hiding, ironically in the statue of the mayor that was just put up. Makes me wonder if any goods are in statues of important figures. Alright, let's not try and destroy a national monument or anything. Okay. And so, so the toads are, obviously everyone's mad at the mayor because like, you threw us under the bus, really? And the mayor, of course, like he tries to make it all about him. And yeah, so and he's like, I needed the money in order to continue my campaign of tricking you people, or something like that. I forget. I mean, the mayor, yeah, he's. It's just. I feel like there's gonna be an episode where he's gonna get like impeached or something, and I wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, I don't know how it would go. I mean, I'm past, what episode am I at right now? I just finished up episode 12 of earlier today. And so you can probably, and if you guys know episode 12, you know which episode I'm talking about. That handles politics. But right now, like, so the toads, they collect their money. They give everything back, or do they give everything back, or is it just Anne that gives everything back? Actually, I think it was just Anne that gave everything back, and so the toads take the money and they leave, but then they say, "We'll be back, though." He's like, "We'll be back, and we won't be alone." So that's an interesting. So that kind of sets up an interesting. That obviously this is kind of like a rift, in my opinion, between Anne and the Toads, because she hasn't fully made an enemy with them, but she definitely has got up. She definitely she's had a rough go. She has I guess a situation with them. So we'll see. Yeah. But it's interesting though because the town is behind Anne now, and like the whole town is like, yeah, come back, yeah, oh yeah, come back, we'll be waiting, yeah, and it's like, yeah, and then the toads leave, and they pretty much are just like, yep, we're coming back, all right, and we won't be alone. Okay, yeah, I'll take back what I said. Anne's pretty much made an enemy of the toads, even though they tried to play it cool, like, oh, yeah, you're tough. You're tough. But of course, and so yeah, although and so I really like this episode. I liked how it caught me off guard with the fact that I think I'm just so used to most mid-season finales kind of being okay. Like there are a few shows that pull off a mid-season finale really, really well, but then there are others that don't. I remember in was it Avatar: The Last Airbender that did this? Yeah, I think it was Avatar: The Last Airbender that did this. I remember season 1. technically speaking, their mid-season finale, I guess, was the Winter Solstice two-parter. But if you really wanted to go based off of how many episodes were in the season, episode 10 would have been the mid-season finale, and that episode was not exactly mid-season finale material. Yeah, I'm thinking of the right episode. I'm not thinking. Um, but I mean, the rest of the season, the rest of the series, they had the library episode as the mid-season finale of book 2, which, in my opinion, that was a pretty big episode to end on, with Appa being taken away and the team being stranded in the desert after they just discovered a pretty vital information of winning the war. And obviously, the mid-season finale of season 3 was also a pretty big episode too. But yeah, but again, I usually most shows don't really put too much in their mid-season finales. They're just like, well, this is the break. I mean, obviously the season finale is the big one. So I like how in this one it's like, no, we're focusing on this big moment. This is a big moment. I mean, down the line it won't seem as big, which as a good show would do, in my opinion. Like in the meantime, this is a pretty big moment because we are introduced to a lot of new things. We finally see the town earn the respect of the town, and we see Anne step up in a big way, and you don't know what's to come. So yeah. All right, I think that's enough talk about this episode. So yeah, toe tax. God, I hate taxes. All right, I think that's a good place to end.